Welcome to the land of fire and ice. My journey of just 10 days took me around the entirety of Route 1. This vast stretch of land is dotted with black sand beaches, glaciers, lakes and rivers alike birthing countless waterfalls, cascading with elegant ferocity across an outer-worldly landscape rich in color and texture. And in our adventure together, I would like to share just some of my favorite stops along the way. After picking up my vehicle at Keflavik International Airport, I decided to stretch my legs in the capital city of Reykjavik before beginning my journey towards the south coast. Hallgrímskirkja, the famous Lutheran church with its unique design, also happens to be the tallest structure in the country and a must-see. Don't forget to explore inside the church as well. Reykjavik itself was clean, well-organized, beautiful, and with countless options for food and drink. I, however, made my way to another gorgeous landmark with a slightly easier name to pronounce, Harpa. This concert hall is stunning from the outside, but even more so from the inside with the light coming through the countless colored geometric glass panels. Alas, it was time to take Route 36 towards Thingvellir National Park and the Golden Circle. If you'd like to learn about the history and settlement of Iceland and why this spot was found suitable for hosting parliamentary gatherings, then this detour might be worth your while. This is also the spot for the continental divide where the American and Euro-Asian tectonic plates drift apart about 2 centimeters every year. I stopped by Kerrad Crater and paid 500 kroner to hike around its perimeter, and then went to see the geothermal area where the first ever geyser was named as such, and as a result, all geysers after the fact draw its name from this very location. However, to be honest, personally, after experiencing the entire island, the Golden Circle was the least visually striking location in Iceland, with the exception of Gullfoss, which was truly colossal in size as the largest waterfall in Europe by volume. I decided to spend the night at a campground nearby and woke to the most striking 5 a.m. double rainbow and proceeded to drive through the rain to Seljalandsfoss, a breathtaking 200-foot waterfall and the start of what I consider to be the most strikingly beautiful part of Iceland, the southeast to northeast coast. Oh, And don't forget your waterproof clothing. A few hundred meters to the left of Snaefellsnes is Glyvrafoss, meaning the one who lives in the canyon, and it is quite apparent as to why. Just 20 minutes up the road, however, lies one of the most famously spectacular waterfalls in Iceland, Skogafoss. At almost 100 feet wide with a drop of 200 feet, it accentuates the natural beauty found in this part of the island. Legend has it there's a treasure hidden by the Vikings behind it, yet no one has found it quite yet. Instead of soaking in the waters looking for treasure, I decided to climb up the stairs to the right of Skogafoss and onto the legendary hiking trail leading to the pass Thingvellir, which is about 22 kilometers in length. However, if you're not up for the full hike, just a few kilometers into the trail will be more than worth your time and effort.
How many more waterfalls are there going to be? That is the question.
The following morning, I woke up to the ethereal scenery of low-lying clouds glancing across the nearby mountain peaks. It was time to continue my journey towards the town of Vik with the ever-evolving rocky terrain covered in verdant greenery and accentuated by the black sands and countless rivers. I had to stop at the most southerly point in Iceland, Dyrhólaey, meaning Dyrhólaey Island. The lighthouse, the abundant life on the nearby cliffs, and the rocky arch on which the name is based upon are incredible. The view from Dyrhólaey is vast, and if we gaze to the east, we see the black lava columns of the Reynisdrangar coming out of the sea, and for this purpose, I drove the short distance into the beautiful town of Vik to get a closer look and a new perspective from its own black sand beach. With Fire and Ice as a moniker, I was very much looking forward to the ice. The journey to get there is the epitome of the journey being as important as the destination, taking us through wondrous landscapes of moss-covered lava fields, rivers, windswept waterfalls, a combination of all of the above, and monumental land masses of epic proportions before entering glacier territory. At the start of glacier territory is one more noteworthy 80-foot waterfall called Svartifoss, which stands for Black Waterfall. It draws this name from the dark basalt lava columns that surround it. These columns look like the pipes on a giant organ and were used for reference by the architect who designed Hallgrímskirkja, as we saw earlier. My wish soon came to fruition, and I was presented with one of the most beautiful sights across my entire journey of Iceland, Snaefellsnes, which translates to the Pig Mountain Glacier. This is considered one of Iceland's most dangerous glaciers due to the landslides from the nearby mountain Snaefell, which is why some of the ice is covered in dark residue. The glacier is mostly closed to hiking, but the aerial shots from the safety of the shore more than made up for it. Of course, the glacier territory I speak of is really toes of the largest ice mass in Europe, Vatnajökull, which spans 8,200 kilometers squared and at its thickest reaches nearly 1 kilometer. One of the most famous toes, Breiðamerkurjökull, dips into the Glacier River Lagoon, famously known as Jökulsárlón.
This glacier has some of the bluest ice I have ever seen. Some might even call it beautiful, and I think that's enough.
Beautiful might very well be the right way to describe the nearly iceberg-sized chunks of ice that break off of this glacier and slowly drift through the lagoon and towards the ocean. This is also the source of the ice on the nearby beach that glitters like diamonds against the rich contrast of the black volcanic sands. While my eyes were having the most epic of feasts, my stomach was starting to get a little jealous. Fortunately, a solution quickly presented itself near the Visitor Information Center.
Alright, let's give this a shot. I've heard a lot of good things about it. Very good. Very good.
Unfortunately, as good as Iceland's famous hot dogs are, they're not quite enough to fuel our journey. It's time to head into the next town, Höfn. Höfn is the second largest town in the southeastern part of the island, and it offers spectacular views of 4 toes of Vatnajökull. The name Höfn means harbor, which is rather convenient considering it's a fishing port town, and this is where we would have a proper Icelandic meal, cod.
All right, first bite out of 10. Let's see. It's very good, very good. Easy 9 out of 10. Let's try this potato. Höfn's a great little town, fantastic food. That's probably the highlight for me. There's a lot of other really cool stuff like this boulder garden / museum that teaches you about the geological composition of the rocks that make up Iceland as a whole. But I think that's about it for the town. For me, I'm going to be picking up a few more groceries, and then we're going to continue northeast and see what we find over there.
About 40 minutes outside of Höfn is quite possibly my favorite photography spot from this particular trip. the Valnese Natural Reserve beach. Depending on the elements, it can be elevated to a truly jaw-dropping experience. I could have sat here for hours watching the ocean on the left and the mirror finish of the bay on the right of the pebble beach, spanning several kilometers. But it was time to call it a night in the town of Djupavogur. The next day, I would dodge some heavy mist and relentless rain by driving through the longest tunnel I have seen in recent memory and setting up my home base in Gilstadir. I would spend 2 full days here navigating the surrounding area, starting with Stutlagil, the famous canyon known for its turquoise river and massive basalt columns lining its banks. The canyon is a great place to spend a couple hours hiking around both shorelines. Given its formation, it makes for a fantastic wind tunnel, so do expect to encounter some very strong winds in the area. It was time, however, to refuel both the car and myself back in Gilstadir, and I found this nice little pizza place that I would definitely recommend. Our next stop takes us to one of my favorite day trips, Seyðisfjörður. The drive there was a little unnerving given the insane elevation gain, and later into the spring still very much surrounded by snow, especially with the weather taking a slight turn for the worse. But once we were over the ridge, the town itself is simply gorgeous. I would very much compare it to a little town in Switzerland surrounded by mountains with gushing waterfalls and a bay leading into the Atlantic. I spent quite a bit of time walking around and exploring this beautiful location, which is very much matched by the beauty of its people. The locals were very friendly and happy to share information about wonderful hikes and hidden gems around the area. This is also the location of the famous Lutheran church with the Rainbow Road. A legend has it that Thor himself descended from Asgard and cracked the very path, and the locals, to show their dissatisfaction to the local authorities with its state of disrepair, colored it in all the colors of the rainbow as a way to draw attention to the issue. Yeah, it is a pretty cool story if I don't say so myself, even though half of it is possibly maybe made up. The journey back across the ridge was equally beautiful, especially with the sun coming out and dispelling any fears of an impending blizzard. Our next stop is Hengifoss. This is the 3rd tallest waterfall in Iceland at a staggering 128 meters. However, it is fair to say that the red clay lining the basaltic strata is equally important to its draw. Do not forget your fully waterproof shoes for this one. As incredible as this area is, it was finally time to go on our final day trip from Egilstadir to a place called Borgarfjörðarhöfn with a very specific mission in mind.
I was told this would be the place to see some puffins. Now, whether we're going to find any or not, it doesn't really matter. This place is absolutely beautiful, as you can see. But let's take a look.
Puffins are a pelagic seabird that feed primarily by diving in the water. They breed in large colonies on coastal cliffs by nesting in burrows in the soil, and as you can imagine, Iceland is an ideal location for their exploits. Most importantly though, they are stocky with a brightly colored beak, which makes them absolutely adorable.
Well, that didn't disappoint, but there's a lot more to this area than just the birds. Let's get away from here a little bit, make some space so we can drone a little bit. I want to show you the rest of the area as well.
In Iceland, puffins can also be served as dinner on your plate. But instead of eating the cute little critters, I want to show you another of my favorite restaurants at the Vogafjós Resort.
What would you like to see? Oh, this place is cool. Yeah, it's anywhere is good.
Not only is this place cool, but the food is incredibly fresh. As it pains me to say, the cows are literally next door, and they are very delicious.
That's amazing.
After a good meal, a good way to spoil yourselves further is with a geothermal bath at Geosea. The one with the best view by far, in my opinion, is in a town called Húsavík. Take a look for yourselves. While some baths are fantastic for sampling ourselves, others are best enjoyed from a safe distance. And as we have observed a lot of ice so far, it's only fair that we bring it back full circle and talk a little bit about the fire. It is not an exaggeration to say that the Krafla and Vatnajökull are some of the most volcanic regions in Iceland. In fact, the largest volcanic eruption in Iceland's modern history took place at this very spot in the 70s. The short hikes around the area were magnificent, as the colors of the geology nearby were truly otherworldly. Krafla crater was still frozen, which provided its own unique flavor, and the extended experience across the street from Route 1 was equally impressive. Then it was time to call it a night in Akureyri. If I had one regret from this trip is that I did not have another day to explore Akureyri and the surrounding area. Driving into the city, I was blown away by the sheer beauty of the location. And a pro tip, in the summer, you don't need to pay for the toll using the tunnel. You can take Route 83 and 84, it's only an extra 10 minutes and much prettier to look at. After another quick snack, this time a bacon variant, which was the best version of the Icelandic hot dog I've tried thus far. Sadly, it was time to wrap up this trip with just one last stop that is a must-see photography icon located relatively closely to Reykjavik, Snaefellsnes Peninsula. Snaefellsnes Peninsula is often referred to as Mini Iceland due to the diversity in its natural features, and if you are coming to Iceland for only a couple days, in my opinion, I would choose to visit this location over the Golden Circle. For this trip, I absolutely had to see the mountain shaped like an arrowhead, but whose name is actually Church Mountain, Kirkjufell.
Kirkjufell is the last stop on this adventure. It's been a fantastic trip. We got lucky with the weather. We got to see everything that we wanted to see. And of course, hopefully you enjoyed this trip as much as I have. Now, up next, we will be climbing Mount Fuji in August, so I hope you can join me for that. Until then, see you soon.